Good afternoon all. In today's session we are going to discuss something about the algorithms. We will see what is the definition of an algorithm and what are the various characteristics we have for these algorithms and what are the various metrics on which we can measure the performance of these algorithms. These are the three important topics we are going to discuss under this algorithms concept. Let us see what an algorithm is. In computer science, the algorithm word refers to a method that is used by the programmer to specify a solution for a problem. So, why do we use computers? We use computers to get solutions for the problems in a faster fashion. When you have a problem, you have to, when you have a solution and when you want to express that solution, when you want to solve that problem with the computer, you have to give a solution in the form of programs. We know very well about that program is nothing but a set of instructions that can perform a task. An example also we have given that addition of two numbers is my problem or my task to perform. For this, what I will do is I will ask the computer to perform addition of two integers and give the result. But you cannot directly ask the computer and it will not give the response also. You have to instruct the computer in the form of the programming languages or in the form of a program. That is the reason why a program is nothing but a set of instructions that can perform a task. So, addition of two numbers and giving the result is a task or a problem where you will write some few set of instructions, maybe 5, 6, 10, depend upon the application or depending upon the problem you are going to solve. You will write number of steps and you combine it into a single entity. That entity we are calling it as the program. But remember that writing programs is not that important. For writing programs, you should have a sound knowledge on the programming language. If somebody asks you, if somebody has given you a problem and they asked you to give a solution to this, what people will do is they will directly write the solution in terms of programs. That is accepted, worldwide accepted. But what scientists has given is before writing programs, you have to carefully analyze the program. That careful analysis of programs will be done with some more metrics rather than writing these programs. So, before writing programs, you have to draw the flow chart. I will tell you what these flow charts are. But in order to write this flow chart or in order to draw this flow chart, you should write the algorithm. So, the primary step for giving a solution for any problem in the computer science world is you have to write the algorithm. This is very important. And once you write the algorithm, you convert this into flow chart. So, this becomes the second step. And once you have flow chart in your hands, you can write the programs very easily. So, this is the third step. If you are given a task and you are asked to give the solution, never ever try to write the programs first. You should start your concept or your building up of the solution from the first step, which is the algorithm writing. You specify the algorithm. Once you write this algorithm, you convert this algorithm into a graphical representation, which we are calling it as the flow charts. Once you have this flow chart, based upon the flow chart, you can write the programs very easily. That is the reason why algorithms plays very important role in the computer science environment. So it is a special method of writing a solution or giving a solution to a problem in the computer science. That is a vague definition we have. It's not a correct definition you can specify, but if somebody asks you, you can simply say that yes, an algorithm is something that you are going to specify a solution for a problem. It's a method. But the actual definition of the algorithm is an algorithm for solving a problem is a finite sequence of unambiguous executable steps or instructions which if followed will ultimately terminate and give the solution of the problem. So this is a simple definition, but it is given like that. It appears as if it is so clumsy. Whatever points we have here in the blue color, this is finite, unambiguous, executable and terminate. These are the 4 characteristics that an algorithm should have. These are the keywords, finite set of steps, and those should be unambiguous in nature, and they should be executable, and there should be a termination condition. So these are all the characteristics we have for the algorithm. Whatever we have discussed in the previous slide, this same thing happens here also, but it is given in somewhat wider explanation, with somewhat wider explanation. An algorithm is a solution for a problem. That is a simple definition you can do. But if you want to elaborate it, that solution what you are giving for a problem and while you are calling it as an algorithm, it is nothing but a finite sequence of, finite means limited. So you cannot write an algorithm which is unlimited in nature. You cannot keep on adding the instructions, infinite instructions, never make a program. There should be limited number of instructions. That's why we call it as finite sequence of unambiguous. Unambiguous means the final result should not keep you in ambiguity. It should give one solution, that's it. There is no other way, only one solution it should give. Addition of 2 integers means it should give only one result only, it should not give 2 results, or ambiguous results it should not generate. So when you are writing the algorithm, you should be very careful that it should generate a single solution. It should not generate the ambiguous solutions. And whatever instructions you specify, they should be executable in nature. And the final thing is also important. Whatever you write, they should ultimately terminate. The program should terminate based upon a condition or whatever it may be, anything. But ultimately the program should terminate. You cannot write programs that can run infinitely. That is a big mistake you have. While writing the programs, you should be very cautious that you limit your programming or the algorithm with a finite sequence, that is limited sequence of instructions which are unambiguous in nature and which is executable in nature, and ultimately those things should terminate. Without termination, you should not write the programs. So that's all about this definition and the characteristics we have. So the interesting thing we have with these algorithms is, in our daily life we will come across these algorithms. So any task you perform in your daily life is nothing but a sequence of steps only, right? Let us take a real time example. For example, I want to travel from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam. These are the 2 major cities in Andhra Pradesh. So if I want to travel from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam, I will give one solution like this. First step, step 1. start from house. Step 2, catch an auto or a cab. Let us take it as cab. Catch a cab. Step 3, reach railway station. Step 4, catch the corresponding train to Visakhapatnam. And step 5, step down at railway station at Visakhapatnam. So these are the 5 steps, and finally you can end it. These are the 5 steps I can give for a problem where I want to move from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam. Right? Clear?
Yes, sir.
But if I want to write another solution for the same task, Kakinada to Visakhapatnam, I will write like this. Solution 2. Step 1 is same thing, start from house. This time I don't want to go by train, I want to go by bus. So catch a cab is also second step. Step 3. This time I am going to reach the bus station. And step 4, catch the bus. Step 5, step down at Visakhapatnam and end. This is another solution. It is not necessary that I always go by train only. I can move with bus also. And the same problem may have another solution. Let us give the third solution. Step 1 remains the same. Step 2, catch the cab remains the same. This time I am not going to go by train or bus. I want to go by flight. Let us take. So I will take the cab, and step 3 can be go to Rajahmundry, and step 4 is catch the flight, and step 4 is get down at Visakhapatnam and end. This is another solution I have. And finally another solution for the same task. This time I want to go by walk. I don't want to take anybody's help. I don't want to go by train, bus, flight, car or anything. I don't want to take. I just want to move with my foot, barefoot. So I will start walking with walk, right? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So my problem here is to move from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam. But what I have here is I have 4 solutions for the same problem. So the point what you have to understand here is, for a particular problem you can have n number of solutions. How many solutions you can have for one problem? N number. It depends on the problem. So that is very important point. You should understand that a particular problem can be given n number of solutions. The solution for a problem is not limited to 1 or 2. The solution to the problem is n. You can have any number of solutions. But let us see, if you have n number of solutions, which is best? This is the question we will get, right? So we have n number of solutions, means what is the best solution we have? It does not depend on a particular criteria. Let us go with our same example from moving from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam. I have 4 different solutions, solution 1, 2, 3 and 4. Can you tell me what is the best solution we have? Is it solution 1 or solution 2 or 3 or 4? What is the best solution from you?
1, sir.
It is 1, right? But what I say is, in my opinion, I take the solution 3 as best. And somebody will come and he will say that solution 4 is best. And somebody will come and he will say that solution 2 is best. The point you have to remember here is, though you have number of solutions for a problem, there is nothing to do with the best part of the solution. So every solution is good. You cannot say that a particular solution is always good. In some scenarios, solution 1 is best, in some scenarios, solution 3 is best, and in some scenarios, solution 4 is best. Let us take an example, the same example. For example, I will be taking the solution 3 as best. Why? Because it has its own disadvantages and advantages. If I want to travel from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam and I don't have time, I don't have much time to spend almost 3 to 4 hours of time to go to Visakhapatnam. I just have only 1 hour of time. I should reach the Visakhapatnam just in 1 hour. Right. So let us take the criteria as time. And let me take another criteria. This is criteria 1 and second criteria is cost. So if you consider the time should be less and if I can afford the cost of flight, I can take this solution, and I am saying that this is the best solution I have. Let us take the same criteria, the time and cost. Let us apply these two criteria to solution 1. I can reach Visakhapatnam from Kakinada within 3 to 4 hours. I don't have any constraint on the time, but I have constraint on cost. I cannot afford 4,000 rupees to take a flight ticket. I can just put only 150 rupees. So you can reach it within 3 to 4 hours and the cost is around 150 rupees only, let us say. So for this particular criteria where the time duration is 3 to 4 hours and the cost should be only 150 rupees, this solution is the best. Let us apply these two criteria to the bus also. One is the time and the second criteria is the cost. So if you have time to spend, that means you can afford or you can spare up to 4 to 5 hours. Nothing will happen. So there is no restriction on the time to reach Visakhapatnam. But I can afford some cost. For example, let me take the cost as 250 rupees. I can afford the cost. So in this particular scenario, the second solution is the best. But if we apply the same criteria to the fourth one, I cannot spend even a single penny to reach Visakhapatnam. I don't have money, but I have a lot of time. So what I will do is I will start from Kakinada by walk. Let it take 1 day or 2 days, let it take, I don't mind. But I don't have money to spend or to buy the ticket. So for that particular scenario, you have this fourth solution as the best solution. The reason why I am explaining all these things is, first point is, any problem you take in the computer science will have more than one solution. Second point, if you have more than one solution for a problem, how can you evaluate the best solution or how can you get the best solution? Very, very important point you should remember is, there is no best solution for a particular problem in all the scenarios. It depends on the criteria which you are taking. If I take criteria as the time should be very less. In this example I am taking, I should choose flight. But if I take cost as the parameter, I should not spend a single penny. Therefore, you should take the fourth solution. The point is, when you have more than one solution, no solution is best in all the cases. It is based upon the situation or the criteria you have. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, we will see what are the metrics to calculate the efficiency of an algorithm. So, to explain this, I have given the previous thing, right. All this explanation what I have given is based upon this one. So, if somebody asks you what is the metric on which you can measure the efficiency of the algorithm, means the metric is, there are two different metrics. One is the time complexity, very important topic this one, and the second one is the space complexity. These are the two metrics on which you can measure the efficiency of any algorithm. For example, assume that your professor has got a problem and he wants to find the programmatic solution for it, and he calls 2 to 3 students and he gives the problem and asks you to solve the problem. Assume that the 3 students, let us draw it. So, here is the professor, he is having a mathematical problem which is to be solved using the computer, and he selects 3 students, student 1 and student 2 and student 3. He gives the problem to the students and says them to find this solution. Assume that all the 3 members has given the solutions to the professor. Now, the burden lies with the professor. Which solution I have to select? Is it solution 1 from student 1 or solution 2 from student 2 or solution 3 from student 3? This is a big problem with the professor. What the professor can do is, he can find out or he can run this solution 1 and find the time complexity, and he can find the space complexity of this solution 1. Similarly, he runs the second algorithm, finds the time complexity and the space complexity. He runs the third algorithm, finds the time complexity and space complexity. Whichever solution gets the less time complexity and whichever solution gets the less space complexity, that is considered to be the best solution for that particular problem. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Let us see what this time complexity and space complexity is, and then we will see why it should be less. The time complexity is defined as the time is a mathematical function, math function. It is defined as the mathematical function which defines the efficiency of the algorithm. It means this complexity is, time complexity is going to measure the amount of time it is going to take. It means the algorithm, the amount of time the algorithm is going to take is called as the time complexity. Simple definition, right? And coming to the space complexity, it is also a mathematical function which gives the measure of the amount of space. What is this space? Nothing but memory. So, how much memory it is going to take, how much memory the algorithm is going to take is considered as the space complexity. How much time the algorithm is going to take to run the algorithm or to complete its execution is called as the time complexity. Very simple definitions. So, let us take solution 1. Let us take the time complexity as 5 milliseconds, and let us take the solution 2 and the time complexity is 10 milliseconds. Solution 3, the time complexity is 15 milliseconds. Now tell me what is the best solution you have. The solution 1 has been completed its execution in just 5 milliseconds, very fast execution, and solution 2 it has taken 10 milliseconds, somewhat larger than this solution 1. Solution 3 has taken 15 milliseconds, which is very large than this first two solutions. Whichever solution is having less time complexity, that is considered to be the best algorithm. That means it is going to execute faster. What is that, sir? If it is going to execute faster, what is that you are going to save? Means you are going to save the processing power. Whenever you want to execute a program, we have discussed in the earlier sessions that whenever you want to execute a program, that program has to be loaded from the secondary memory to the primary memory, and the processor will take that program from the primary memory and it will execute. So, the processor time is very important. The most costliest resource in the entire computer system is the processor time. Why it is important means everything is done in the processor only. Without processor there is no CPU, without processor there is no computer at all. The only one resource which is very costly and which is very expensive and which is very important for us is the processor time. So, if processor allocates 5 milliseconds of time to solution 1 and it takes the same algorithm solution 2 10 seconds, the same processor solution 3 takes 15 milliseconds. Solution 1 just uses 5 milliseconds of processor time. So, once you execute this solution 1 and processor, it will be executed in just 5 milliseconds and everything is gone. You can have a lot of time to allocate the processor to other problems. That is what I am going to say. So, processor time is very important. So, if processing time or the execution time is less, then you say that the algorithm is efficient. In the same manner, you can also explain it in terms of space complexity. Solution 1, let us say the space complexity is 10 KB, and for solution 2 the space complexity is 20 KB, and for solution 3 the space complexity is 100 KB. Now, the amount of time, the amount of memory that is taken by solution 1 is just 10 KB, and the amount of space memory occupied by solution 2 is 20 KB, and the third solution takes 100 KB. So, out of these three, solution 1 takes very less memory, which is the primary requirement. So, whichever solution is having the less time complexity and space complexity, you consider those things as the best algorithms. So, whenever you want to evaluate an efficiency of an algorithm, you just have to go through the time complexity and space complexity of the algorithms. Whichever algorithm is having less time complexity and whichever algorithm is having the less space complexity, that is marked as the best solution. But one important point you should remember here is the time complexity is defined as a mathematical function which describes the total amount of time that the algorithm takes. That is okay. But remember that this is not a wall clock time. You are not going to measure in terms of hours, minutes or milliseconds. Of course, you will use this milliseconds, that is a different case, but it is not the actual wall clock time. The time complexity, very important point, the time complexity is measured in terms of number of memory accesses that are performed. How many times you are going to access the primary memory, how many times you are going to access the secondary memory, that is going to be considered as the time. Similarly, how many number of comparisons between the integers you are doing, the comparisons also is considered to be the time complexity. It's a very important metric in time complexity. And the number of times the inner loop is executed. Let us see what this loop and what is this outer loop, inner loop, all these things we will discuss, don't worry. So, how many inner loops you have, how many times the inner loop is going to execute, that also has a lot of effect on the time complexity. Right. So, these are the various things you should consider while measuring the time complexity, not that wall clock. You just start the program and then end the program, and you just start the clock and end the clock and take the time. That is not the case. You should consider here the memory accesses it is taking, how many comparisons it is making, how many inner loops, how many times the inner loop is going to execute. All these things should be considered for measuring the time complexity. Similarly, space complexity means it is defined as a function that gives the amount of memory. That is a different case. This is the actual definition. But what is this space? It is not the actual space the entire program is occupying. It will occupy a limited amount of space, but what is the extra memory that is needed? That is to be considered for the space complexity. You should not count the memory that is required to store the input. Input is not at all considered, right? So, no, you are not going to count the memory needed to store the input. Like that, these are the two different things you can make use of the for measuring the space complexity. And if somebody asks you, what is that you should consider? What out of these two metrics, what is that you should consider for actual the measurement of the efficiency of the algorithm? Means it is the time complexity, not the space complexity. So, most of the time when you discuss programs related to the data structures, you will be discussing about the time complexity only. You won't bother about the space complexity. The reason is very simple. I told you that the space is abundantly available. You have the magnetic HDDs, hard disk drives or storage devices which are available for very low costs. You have huge amount of memories that are available for very small prices. For this reason, even though the program takes 10 KB or 100 KB of data, that is not going to affect our efficiency of the algorithm. But when you are going to take the processor, it is very, very, very important. It should be, the processor time should be utilized in a careful manner. So, if somebody asks you what is the what is that you should consider, is it the time complexity or the space complexity which is given more importance? So, more emphasis should be given to the time complexity but not the space complexity, as the reason is the space, we have abundant space with less prices. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So, in this session we have started our discussion with the algorithm. The algorithm is nothing but it's a method of specifying a solution to the problem, and we have given the definition of the algorithm, which is a finite sequence of unambiguous executable steps, and they should terminate at one end. Then that should give a solution to the problem. We have taken an example which you can make use of it in the daily life, that is moving from Kakinada to Visakhapatnam. So, one problem will have more than one solution. We have here in this example we have taken 4 solutions, and whenever you want to evaluate the efficiency of the solutions, you should consider the metrics. No solution is best in all the situations. It depends on the scenario. So, the metrics that are used to find the efficiency of the algorithm is the time complexity and the space complexity. The time complexity is the amount of time it is taking, that means the algorithm is taking to execute. Space complexity is the mathematical function which measures the amount of space that the algorithm is taking. Out of these two, as I told that the time complexity is having more emphasis than rather than the space complexity. Every algorithm you express in the data structures or anywhere, you are going to express it in terms of time complexity. You always consider the time complexity. And remember that time complexity is not the wall clock time, it is the memory accesses, the number of comparisons and the number of inner loops it is going to execute. Similarly, the space complexity is not the actual space, you should not consider the space that is taken for the inputs, and similarly, what is the extra space that it is needed, the algorithm needs, that is the thing you have to consider, that is considered as the space complexity. So, that completes the discussion on the algorithm, the characteristics of algorithm and the metrics for measuring the efficiency of the algorithm. That is all for today's session. Thank you all.